say?
Force.
The Force will be with you. Always.
Welcome to Star Wars Uplink, your source for everything Star Wars gaming. Each week, your host will go over the news, updates, and more that have been happening in the galaxy far, far away. Come join us and our community of like-minded fans as we dive deeper into Star Wars games, past, present, and future, Star Wars lore, and the new shows and movies as they get announced and released. Welcome to this episode of Star Wars Uplink. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by Sydney Laurel. How are you doing?
Hello.
Today, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Eclipse again, and we're going to be talking about some KOTOR and just kind of what we've been playing around with in terms of Star Wars gaming.
Just you reconsider playing that message for him.
Okay, so we're going to kick it off with some Star Wars this is Star Wars Uplink. We're going to talk about Star Wars Eclipse. Welcome to Friday, everybody. This session of Star Wars Uplink is brought to you by tiredness and exhaustion. And yeah, so Star Wars Eclipse, again, every time that we talk about this, there is the pre-roll that we have to say and talk about how the controversies around this game. There is allegedly, we want to be careful about those words here, allegedly David Cage, I think that's his name, the lead guy on the Quantum Dream Studio, has a lot of not very nice thoughts around many different topics and has a very toxic environment.
Like he's created a toxic environment
Yes,
in the workplace.
As well as his very misogynistic and those types of views.
Uh-huh.
Allegedly.
Love it. Okay.
Because apparently he's suing some kind of like news organization in France or something.
Because they're trying to poke him at it and...
Yeah. For slander and all that fun stuff.
Of course.
Which is not surprising in pairing with this news that we're going to be talking about.
Oh, good.
The game is not, according to Bespin Bulletin, who is a very, very reliable leaker, just news cover in terms of Star Wars games, leaked the release or the announcement of Star Wars Squadrons months before anyone else, as well as the new stuff in terms of the KOTOR remake that's coming out at some point. And so he's got a pretty good track record in terms of news around Star Wars, both the shows, movies, and the video games. According to him, the game isn't coming out until 2027 or 2028.
Oh, good gosh.
And that's even if it comes out at all, because the more time that these things do, the more likely I expect it to be canceled. Especially like considering the backlash and the hashtag blackout Star Wars Eclipse movement that's been going on to kind of just say, hey, Disney, we don't appreciate you giving the license to this development company who has all of these controversies around it.
Right.
So yeah, 2027 or 2028, and that's apparently because they're having hiring issues.
What?
They aren't able to hire enough people to be able to get this game developed in a time frame. And like we've covered in past episodes, they're also struggling with the engine that their games are made in terms of the scope that they want to offer for this game, and it not really suited very well for that scope. So by the time, if it even comes out, 2027, that's a good long way away. 6 years from now.
Yeah. Good gravy.
Yeah.
I'll be in my 30s.
Oh my gosh. I will be almost 30. Let's see, 2027, I'll be turning 24 this year. So I'll be like 29 or 30 when this game comes out.
That's ridiculous.
That's a long time in general.
How long did Elden Ring take?
4 or 5 years, I think. But they didn't announce it until much later in the cycle, which is what normal games are supposed to. I I think EA likes to keep their games in terms of announcements. Normally, again, they've done some things with their canceled Star Wars games where they announce it too early, but they've gotten really good at staying within the 6 to 9 months time frame. Is where they usually like to keep their games in check. And like the game industry is moving more towards that because you see stuff like Cyberpunk, and they announced that in 2012.
Oh my gosh.
It was before the Xbox One and PS4 came out.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
It was before The Witcher came out. They announced that. Yeah, they had a teaser at E3 in 2012.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And then they released The Witcher in 2015, I believe.
It's a miracle it came out. Really.
Apparently, in terms of kind of reporting, they didn't start development of that game until 2016. But that's still, by the time it came out in 2020, that's 4 years. But like when you announce a game in 2012.
How can you announce a game and it not be somewhat somewhere, you know? Like, that is risky.
Yeah, they announced that game a decade ago.
That's crazy. I did not realize that.
Which is why everyone's hype was so much, because they released this teaser. That's all it said. It was like Cyberpunk 2077 by CD Projekt Red. That was all. And then they had like a span of a few years, and then they released another teaser. And then they had a span of another few years where they released another teaser. And then they had the full announcement of the game, and then it got delayed a couple times. And even with those delays, it didn't launch very well.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Game development's wild. Like
yeah.
the more I dive deeper into kind of the behind the scenes around game development, the more I've just been like completely mind blown about these
It seems
things.
like there's no science to it. Like I feel
every single studio is very different.
Yeah, I feel like in cinema there's kind of like a format now, but in game development it's still totally brand new. Like it's a frontier that people are still trying to explore and still trying to nail down.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to see that actually happened. Like that they could announce something and still have all that hype a decade later.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and so we're in a very interesting location when we talk about Star Wars Eclipse, because you have all of these things outside of the game itself that are these forces that are looking more and more like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's probably going to join the likes of Star Wars 1313 and Project Ragtag, I think is what it was called, a game that Visceral Games was going to be making from EA, and then that game went to development hell, and then from there, like the whole company basically got killed by that game.
Wow.
Yes. And then that game got moved to another development company, and then that development company canceled the game. So it went through a lot before it eventually kind of just petered out. So I am all for games like what Ubisoft did, where they just literally announced the title of it and said, or not even the title of it, just said, "Hey, we're Ubisoft. We've got the Star Wars license. We're going to be making an open world game. We're not going to tell you when it's going to come out.
Yep.
We're not going to tell you any details around it. We're going to tell you this is the development studio. This is the engine that they're going to be using. Fill in the blanks in your own brain what you want to think." And then whenever that comes out, which is, if they started in, I think they announced that in 2021, early 2021 is when that was announced. If they started it then, it seems like it was probably pretty early production, because they're also working on the Avatar game, Avatar Blue People game.
Oh, yeah.
Open world as well. So I think it's going to be very similar to that.
Probably.
But I don't expect that game until 2023 at the earliest, probably 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like that tactic better, where it's like, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee. It's not, there's no promises made. It's just, this is the bare bones of what we have to offer sometime. At some point in the future.
The thing that gets me is it's such a shame that they're wasting all of this effort onto a game where they could put it towards someone else. Like, that's the thing that I don't understand fully, is why were they ever really on the table in terms of building out a Star Wars game. And like, what would suck?
You mean the Eclipse?
Yeah, Star Wars
people.
Eclipse.
Yeah.
Quantic Dream. What would suck is because that game looks to be pretty dark.
Yeah.
It looks to have a lot more of that darker tone that we've all been wanting in terms of Star Wars, especially the Star Wars gaming side of things. It would suck if we just lose that entirely because of that studio.
Yeah.
I could totally see that happening. Is they're like, oh hey, we're struggling with this. Depends on the contract. Maybe they wrote the contract very well. It's like, we know this is eventually going to come out, so we're going to put this in our contract that no matter what happens, we will be making this game, or we will have that license.
Yeah, I could see that.
So that would also suck.
Yeah. I know. It's funny because, like, it does feel like that in the gaming world where, like, if someone even suggests or, like, is just starting to make a thing, no one can pick it up. Like, if it dies, it's dead.
Yeah.
We can't.
That's what's so depressing about Battlefront's death.
Yeah.
And I don't want, if there is ever a Battlefront 3, I don't want DICE to make it. They've, get away. I don't want you. Stay back.
Yeah.
But what that game ultimately needs is its own studio, or a studio built up from it, or one that says, oh, hey, you're a smaller studio, but you've done great work. Here's the Star Wars license. Your job will funnel you money. Your job is to make this game and support it and keep it alive. But I highly doubt that would ever happen if EA, they don't have the exclusivity, but I don't know if they still have the license for Battlefront. Like, could another game studio go to Lucasfilm Games and be like, yo, hey, Lucasfilm, I want to make a Battlefront 3.
Right.
Would that work? Could they even do that? We don't know.
It just seems like they should. Like, why is everyone so against each other? Like, you know, like, I feel like they're all like fighting against each other, and like it's so much competition. But it's like, what? I don't know. Couldn't we just use the bones of other structures and make new things?
Well, that's what EA's done a lot. Is
really?
in Fallen Order, they had a lot of assets that was from a lot of those assets were from Battlefront, even some Project Ragtag stuff. Squadrons actually has a folder of Fallen Order, Battlefront, and Project Ragtag assets that they used. So
cool.
It is in that specific use case, they do that.
Right.
But I don't know how that works. If you're Lucasfilm, if you have a Star Wars title, if you're over here in EA, do you share your assets with Ubisoft? I wouldn't think so. From Lucasfilm's perspective, it would make sense for that cross collaboration to happen. But from Ubisoft and EA's perspective, that does not work well for them.
And not everyone's on the same platforms and whatnot, so. So there's lots of complicated variables.
Yeah, but like stuff like the models are usually designed in Blender, or they're usually designed on a platform that everyone uses that they port into their engine.
Gotcha.
Not many actually use the engine for that designing of the characters and the models. Sometimes they'll do it. Like if you're a smaller indie developer, sometimes you'll all do it all in one. Or sometimes you'll make the entire thing out of Blender and then import it into an engine to get everything rocking and rolling. Or Unity.
This is a world I am not. I have no like connection to the world of animation and gaming development. Ooh, it's a little scary. That intimidates me. I have enough stage fright when it comes to just drawing things. That woo. Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't mark like a black spot or eclipses another game. Hopefully we get to the point where, this may be a bad situation now, but it leads to maybe some other developers or maybe even Disney and Lucasfilm Games looks at each other and says, hey, we need to set parameters on who gets the license. That may be a good thing or maybe a bad thing, but I think they need to open it up in terms of, just from my perspective, Quantic Dream and Star Wars doesn't really mesh well to me in terms of like, I always saw that as kind of like a conflict from their past games. They're very mature. Maybe that's something that they wanted to experiment with and see what a studio like that could do with the Star Wars space. But like, it always confused me that Quantic Dream and Star Wars would ever try to make it work and have a baby.
So because the game engine is mature?
No,
is that what
just
you're saying?
the studio.
Oh.
Quantic Dream.
Oh.
The games that they make they don't speak really Star Wars to me, at least in terms of a way that makes sense. Like what Quantic Dream does and what Star Wars does, I think are two different worlds, and I didn't really ever see that working out very well. I think it would be interesting to see what they actually came up with, but
Right.
I'm not surprised that it's coming into all of these different problems that they're having.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What examples of games?
They've done Detroit Become Human, which is about the humanity of these robots and an uprising of these androids. And they get into a lot of these political different discussions around those points. And just another one I think they did is Heavy Rain, if I remember correctly. And it's one of those, it's a murder mystery type game. A serial killer comes in. Like all of these, they're very heavy topics and they're very heavy story beats. And I just never really saw that kind of pairing very well with Star Wars, at least in terms of, oh, hey, you're going to be one of the first announcements that we're going to give in terms of some future Star Wars games.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially considering how early they announced it in terms of for release.
Good gravy.
Yeah.
At least they had a pretty commercial.
Yes, it's nice.
Pretty.
Now we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll be back to talk some more Star Wars games.
This podcast is a production of Uplink Media Group. Uplink is a podcast network dedicated to highlighting the love and experience of gaming and pop culture. Check out our other shows, The Battlefield Show, Star Wars Uplink, and The Forge, the Halo Infinite podcast, as well as our YouTube channels for even deeper dives into Battlefield, Star Wars, and more. YouTube.com/Uplink Podcast and StarWarsUplink.com.
Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
Okay. So we talked about your experience with diving deeper into some Star Wars games. I want to talk a little bit about my experiences diving deeper into some Star Wars games. So like I said last time when we were talking about yours, I have been, a couple years ago, I went on this journey to explore more Star Wars games. Because
Your pilgrimage?
My pilgrimage into the forest of Star Wars games.
The galaxy of Star Wars games.
The galaxy. I hopped on the Millennium Falcon and I'm flying to these different Star Wars game planets. I played through KOTOR 1 and 2. Again, this was a while ago. I'm playing through KOTOR on stream right now. This Saturday won't be streaming. I have a video shoot just for my production company. And then I think the next week I want to hop on and stream. But I have forgotten so much about that game. It's basically me playing it again.
Yeah.
Which
you can
is
tell.
great.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Next up will probably be KOTOR 2, unless I want to take a break. And I played Jedi Academy most of the way through and really had a fun time with that. So I want to play that again.
Finish it?
I got stuck and then I played it a lot to get past that stuck portion. And then I just forgot about the game.
What?
I think it was around the time where I moved out.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it was
There's
through
a lot
those
going
transitions.
on. Yeah.
So that's why I didn't really continue it there. But I'm so pumped to play that one again. Force Unleashed games are some of my favorites. They're just so good, and that's what you're going to be hopping into soon. I've been like some of the early Star Wars games that we played were Lego Star Wars games.
Oh,
so I went
okay.
back and replayed those ones again.
Was that like the first? Those were the OG, the first Star Wars games you've ever played?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the first Lego Star Wars game was like the first Star Wars game we played. Another one that I went back to a few years ago when we bought our PlayStation 4, we got the Darth Vader version, which came with like 5 Star Wars games.
Oh, that's awesome.
Super Star Wars, Bounty Hunter, which I played through both of those. Bounty Hunter is fantastic. I love that game, but the controls are so janky.
Oh.
Super fun. I would love to see another game like that where you're playing as Jango Fett, bounty hunting on Coruscant. Like some of my favorite things. Super Star Wars is a Super NES game, SNES game. It came out on that.
Gesundheit.
It came out on that. I played through that. It's really hard, but really fun.
Interesting.
Just 8-bit platformer.
Oh my gosh.
It's great. It may have been 16-bit. I think it was 16-bit because I think SNES was 16-bit. Played that. Super fun. Star Wars Racer. Played that. Super fun. As well as one that was a ship combat game that I can't remember. You played as like Mace Windu, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Let me see here.
Now, you played the games after you'd seen all the movies, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Kick it. Good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that wasn't your first introduction to Star Wars. That was like,
no.
Oh my gosh, this is Star Wars. Let's play it.
It was an expansion of Star Wars for me.
Nice.
Because we grew up like Star Wars games or Star Wars.
Yeah.
But we started with the original trilogy and then went to the prequels.
Same.
Which is what I was super happy about. And I think we've had this conversation on the podcast before. Yeah, so it came with a pack of Super Star Wars, Racer Revenge, Bounty Hunter, and Jedi Starfighter. Jedi Starfighter is just a starfighter game, obviously. I believe you play as Mace Windu, but the controls were janky. I did play it all.
As you do.
It wasn't a like remake or remaster or anything like that. It was a port. So it ported the same. They didn't improve anything. It was basically just a way to play it on PS4. Yeah, and it was fun going back and playing those games, and it was really fun bonus too because we had Darth Vader PS4, we had Battlefront 2015, and then we had those 4 Star Wars games as well. So it was great. Yeah, fantastic time. And then not too long ago, I bought all of the Star Wars games on Steam when they were on sale in the Super Bundle.
And by all of them, like how many is that?
I think the bundle was like, normally it'd be like $300, but it was like $100 to get all of them or something along those lines. But I had already picked up a bunch of them, so it was like $50.
Oh, nice. So they chopped off whatever ones you already had.
Exactly,
love that.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So I'd been picking up those games like Clone Commando. Is it just Commandos, right? Star Wars Commandos? Clone Commandos?
Republic Commandos?
Yeah, Republic Commandos.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, so that game, super fun. Played a bunch of that on stream.
So have you played through all the games that you have?
I have not. There are a lot of games I still want to play. I need to play Empire at War.
What's the gameplay for that one like? That sounds like a huge game. Empire at War.
Yeah. So I think it's a lot of strategy, spaceship combat game, if I remember correctly. A lot of people in the space, there's so many mods for it. Oh my gosh.
Really?
And there's a remake that's happening where they're remaking the game in Unreal Engine, I believe, to make it even more high fidelity. But they use it a lot for cinematics too, because of the mods. You can actually go through and use those assets and put in your own to have the space combat and to have a lot of those sequences that you wouldn't be able to in other games.
That's cool.
So if you want to do those cinematics and you want to actually use a game, Wolf, friend of the show, just great guy all around. He some of his early cinematics before he moved to a lot of the Unreal Engine stuff was working on, was using Battlefront 2. I can't remember if it was Battlefront 2015, but it was definitely Battlefront 2 and Empire at War, as well as a couple other things in there. But they would use certain mods to get certain sequences done.
That's cool.
Super, super fun. It's a huge community around that game. Modding is huge for it. Battlefront, I played both of those games. Those are fun mods as well. I haven't dived into the mods yet, but I really want to.
Like what?
I don't know. You can add different characters into it. That's what I'd be interested in.
Yeah.
Those games still hold up very well.
They do.
And they look really good on PC.
They do.
Even playing it on Xbox through backwards compatibility is great. Like, it looks so crisp. Like, it does a really good job. And I can't remember if it's got the FPS boost, but without even anything like that, it looks fantastic. And it's just super fun to go back and play those games. And then there's a lot of the ones that it just like sprinkled through. I definitely want to play some more the original Rogue Squadron, because I can't remember if I played that one. I think it came out in Nintendo 64 and we didn't have an N64. But we did play those later ones that came to GameCube. So that's going to be really fun.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a few other ones too. The second Jedi Knight game I need to play, because I was playing the first one, I think.
Yeah.
So those will probably be played on stream as well.
Nice.
We still need to dive deeper into SWU.
Yes, we do. I'm looking at you, Buster.
They just had a new update as well to add some more Sith. And oh my gosh, we haven't talked about this on stream or on the podcast, but I don't know if you saw it, but they had a new cinematic.
Yeah. I was there with you and we watched it. Right? That was it, right?
No. Nuh-uh.
What?
Yeah, there's
what was I watching then?
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh.
I reacted to it on the podcast. Or on the YouTube channel, I did a reaction video on that. It's great. Gorgeous cinematic.
It's with the little Twilight girl, right? And then she grows up with the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did we? Yeah, we watched. Did we watch it later that night? Because I'd reacted to it.
We must have. I had no like. This is what this is. I was just plopped down, and you're like, turned it on, and pretty. I assume this is what I'm watching, and I think I saw it later on.
I think you did this in your free time. I think I may have sent it to you. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Something happened. I saw it.
Yeah.
I eventually found out what it was about, and now I know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We're both
gorgeous.
wrong. We're both right. It's okay.
Exactly.
We can accept that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The visuals of that, like the previous ones were pretty. But this takes it up to a whole new level. It just shows the technology around those cinematics and what they can actually achieve now is incredible. Mm-hmm. And something too, I don't know if I told this story on the podcast before. I told it in that reaction video. But my introduction to SWU was through those cinematics, and I was so pumped. It's like, oh my gosh, those are gorgeous.
Yes.
Graphics can be this great.
Every single time.
I hated how MMOs do that, where they like reel you in with this gorgeous deep dive into the world that you're in, and I'm using quotation marks there because you are not in that world. You're in a world where it's super tiny and everything looks like it was made in the 90s.
Yeah, it's not what they pump out.
Yeah, so I was massively disappointed on that front. Also, when the game first came out, it was janky.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It had a lot of issues. All the servers were crashing, and the gameplay was crappy, and they didn't have enough quests for everybody. So there was a lot of things that just gave me this negative connotation around SWU. But
was that the first MMO you had ever experienced?
Oh yeah, yes.
And that was like the only MMO you ever experienced?
Yes.
Gotcha. That explains so much.
And I've played League of Legends as well. That was another thing that was.
That's a very different.
Yeah, it is.
Take on MMO. But...
It is, but it's still in that MMO space, and it's still wildly popular. So I played that. I tried to at least, and I just don't like. I don't like that gameplay style. I don't like the camera perspective.
Yeah, it's so high above.
Yeah, so high above. I can't really feel immersed in the game.
Yeah, hard to feel like an RPG.
It's like, it makes me hyper aware of I'm not in this world. I'm controlling this character.
Yes. Yep.
And I struggle to connect with those stories as well because I don't feel as connected with the characters or even the character that I'm playing with because of that.
Do you ever get overwhelmed by the lore? Like where there's like, especially in like a game like MMOs or something, and they have so much backstory that you feel like you have to get caught up on.
I mean, at this point, that's kind of my feelings around SWU.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
Because like so much has happened. That game's been out 10 years now.
Right. Yeah.
There are so many different expansions, so many different paths, and people have been playing that game for so long that it's a very difficult game to get into.
So many decisions.
So many.
Hate it. I hate it. But I also love it. So
yeah, and Dinko's been playing. He did a stream last week where he played SWU.
Nice.
And it was really fun to watch that.
So it makes you kind of want to play it, doesn't
within like
it?
the first 20 minutes, he was dead.
Oh no!
It was great. I sent him I was watching the on-demand video for that. It was like, you were dead, and I was like, that's a little rough, buddy. He's like, yeah, Zio comes to save me, and it was great. It was fun to watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know what level they're at? I'm curious. I'm just nosy.
Early on.
Oh, good.
I
So
don't
we
know.
can catch up.
Zio's been, I think Zio's 16, 17, something like that. I think that's the level she is. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I know her and Dinko have been hopping on a few times, and he just started a new character that is more entry level, and he wants to play more in terms of the backstory and just have a lot more of freedom there. And it's a Sith he's going for.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, if you want to check that out, definitely head over to the YouTube channel to keep an eye on that. So yeah, Star Wars games, as we dive deeper into, as you dive deeper and I have more experience with these games that I've already played but have forgotten a lot of just because I've played so many games since then.
Yes.
And I'm excited to, I've been missing KOTOR. Like I've been missing the playing with it. And we usually stream for about an hour on YouTube. The last one I played a little bit longer because I didn't want it to end. It's so fun, and now I'm actually getting into the point where I'm getting deeper into the story. I'm going on these different quests. It's great. Yep. If you haven't played KOTOR, I highly recommend it. Next episode, I should have played more KOTOR, so definitely look out for that. And then the episode after that, we'll have a guest, so it'll be fun. Yeah. I think that's it for this episode of Star Wars Uplink. Thank you all so much for listening. And as always, we appreciate your support. Leave us a review if you like the show, are glad that we're back to weekly releases. I know I am. It's good to have the schedule and the time to talk some more Star Wars. And we'll soon be starting our series on the Star Wars movies again. And we're going to go through the entire timeline. So that'll be a continuous segment on the podcast.
Oh boy.
As well as all the discussions around Star Wars games and soon Lego Star Wars. I'm so pumped. Thank you all so much. If you'd like to follow us, you can follow us at Star Wars Uplink. You can head over to our YouTube channels. We're Star Wars Uplink and Star Wars Uplink Shorts for the short side of things. We have a fun time. I finished off the first season of the What If Mace Windu Survive fan fiction series I was doing, and now I'm doing one on what if Anakin won against Obi-Wan and killed Obi-Wan. So diving into the deeper, darker side of things of what would happen if Anakin truly embraced the dark side, and I've been having a blast diving into that. It's been fun. But if you'd like to check that out, that sounds fun. We also do lore little shorts, 1-minute lore segments to keep you updated on all things Star Wars. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. And as always, may the Force be with you.